Good evening. It's no secret that the TF2 Gold Rush mod has released to, well, with lack of a better word, controversy. The mod presents itself as a successor to the original artistic and aesthetic vision of TF2, even boasting itself as
a Team Fortress 2 you've been missing, in better quality than ever!
And that's not just me paraphrasing, you can find that right on the website. But does the mod deliver on this bold claim? If you look at the reviews, most of the people who have played it seem to think so. However, there is a very notable growing number of negative reviews as well, most of them citing the very same criticisms. So what do I think of it? Well, I have a good amount to say about it, so let's start with the good things. Let's get the elephant out of the room here. This mod is absolutely beautiful. They successfully brought back the older lighting system that the game uses, which automatically makes the game look nicer. Compare the shine of weapons then to the total lack of it we have today. Frankly, it is night and day the difference. Same goes for the model improvements. Over time, TF2's models and texture quality have been insanely downgraded, intentionally mind you, most likely due to the increasing number of models and particles that the game had to render every new update. Since Gold Run trims most of this out, so as there's no unusuals, very few unlocks, and very few hats, they can go out of their way and bring back all these nicer new things like the textures, nicer models, better lighting, without having to put any strain on the user's PC. Pretty nice. This really is the best way to play this game from a visual perspective, and I fucking wish the base game still looked like this. And that doesn't just apply to visuals either. The mod also includes some audio changes, such as the old end of round clapping. While not nearly as noticeable during gameplay as the visuals, still goes a long fucking way into making the experience more enjoyable. Special shout out to what they did for the minigun while firing. Whew. They gave the spent casings from the minigun a unique noise when hitting the ground after being ejected, and it is music to my ears. Like, just listen to this, right? That little tinky tink sound, that's the one. Feels real good. You combine that with the nicer visuals that they use for the ejected casings, and it just makes Heavy feel good to play. Not even considering any balance changes here, he just feels good to play because of these changes. Now, it is important to note, these casing changes are not accurate to 2007, as both the sound effects and the visuals are seemingly original for the mod, but damn if it doesn't just improve on what we already had on every level. And speaking of balance changes, Heavy doesn't suck ass to play anymore! That horrible Love and Warner that effectively reduced Heavies by more than half? Gone! It's gone! Fully reverted. Now, Heavy's always going to do the same damage, regardless of how long he's been revved up for. Thank God. Good reversion. Not only is it more accurate to old TF2, but it makes Heavy stronger again, just as God intended. But now, don't go thinking that they reverted all class changes that ever happened. Not true. Demoman isn't the crazy release day version that he used to be, and he's not super insane overpowered. Engie can still move buildings, Pyro still has Air Blast, etc. All the important changes that were made to the base classes post-launch that arguably improve the game are all still there. Just don't go freaking out. Don't fret. Now, as for a change that I'll try and defend here that I know people do not care for, auto reload. Now listen, before you skin me alive and dip me in a pot of boiling oil, just hear me out first, okay? I'm not here to tell you that you've been filtered or have a skill issue because you don't like the exclusion of it. If anything, I get it. I completely understand your perspective. It is jarring to switch from having it at your fingertips to not having it. Your muscle memory is accustomed to not needing to manually reload when playing TF2. Most likely, at least. You aren't used to it, so it feels unfair. I felt similarly when I first started playing the mod too. But listen, the mod team clearly wants the project to capture that slower game experience that old TF2 had. No auto reload, it's just another part of that. When actually engaging with it and not just bypassing it with scripts or what have you, its removal does force people to play slower. Classes like Demoman can't just spam stickies out the ass without at least needing to think and pause to reload. It creates situations in general where players need to think before they act and assess situations accordingly, which is a skill in and of itself. That's part of game sense. I could honestly stretch this topic specifically into a full video, but I'm going to cut it off here before the video becomes too long with this section. All I gotta say is this, right? Try and get accustomed to the lack of auto reload before you pass judgments on it. The devs wanted this feature in, so before you pass feedback, try and get used to it first. That way, you can give the most accurate feedback possible to the devs. And who knows, maybe you'll like it, maybe you don't, because after all, there isn't really a point in just being a reactionary to this sort of thing like a lot of people are, because the devs can't really do anything with that sort of feedback. And now for some things that I've seen basically no one else talk about, but these are pretty nice inclusions still. First off, the load times. They are short, man. I mean like short. Just booting up a private server, Goldrush is at least 20 times faster than the base game minimum. It's kind of crazy how conditioned we are to the longer load times of base TF2, because the load times here are so short, I don't even have time to take a piss break between maps anymore before I load in. Pretty crazy. Next, bot support. I know this is something basically nobody else cares about, but the improved bot support is pretty cool. Base game TF bots can be pretty stupid, but this mod seems to have made some improvements to them, and from what I've noticed, the bots generally get stuck less, they can use unlocks, and they recall the base maps and game modes included in the mod. Which, by the way, includes arena mode because that's an act of God. The vanilla game cannot do that for some reason. Maybe someone can finally utilize these things on community servers to give people something to do while waiting for players to join an empty server? I don't know, just a pipe dream. In any case, these bot inclusions are a very nice addition, even if there's still some things I could tweak out. Like, the medic will for some reason pull up the Uber saw and try and fight you at close range even when he's Ubered. That's no good. But overall, good change. Glad to see it, even if not another soul on this fucking planet cares about it. And that ends the good. Yeah, video's a bit backloaded, huh? Sorry if you clicked on this thinking I was just gonna suck the mod off until the skin of its shaft peels off, but this mod has issues. Plenty of them. So let's start with the most obvious one that most people have probably discovered firsthand by playing. The mod's default settings are horrible. No hit sounds, low mouse sensitivity, no damage numbers, etc. Now, all these things exist and can be tweaked, but good luck finding them if you're not initiated on navigating the menu. The issue comes from how the mod actually formats the menus. Instead of having the modern TF2 Advanced Options menu, which 1. Exists as its own menu option, independent of the regular settings, 2. Is easily readable and nice on the eyes since it's written in big bold text, and 3. Is visually appealing since the menu uses TF2 font and general aesthetics, the mod insists on using the Half-Life 2 menu again, but slightly tweaked. Now, this is a very odd decision to say the least. As stated, the modern Advanced Options menu is a much better UI for user experience, and looks nicer, so why not use that? But it goes beyond that. The Advanced Options menu that modern TF2 uses is actually the Advanced Options menu for the multiplayer options specifically. So in Gold Rush, to find all these things, you need to look in the multiplayer advanced settings specifically. As I said, this is likely not something a player would know or intuit without prior knowledge, because why would something like damage numbers be in multiplayer settings of all things? It is so unintuitive for new users that I have seen many people confused as to whether some of the settings even exist at all. And I don't blame them, honestly. It's just an overall baffling decision from the devs just to roll back this modern QOL change and make the user experience worse for no real gain. And I'm editing this in post now, but as it turns out, the Advanced Options menu actually does still exist in the mod, it's just not accessible through normal means. If you use the console command I show on screen now, it opens up the Advanced Options menu. So the devs literally went out of their way to remove it. I was thinking maybe it was a matter of, oh, they're using an older version of the game, doesn't have this. No, it's there. They cut it. I don't get it. It makes no sense. Why make the user experience worse? And speaking of making the user experience worse for no gain, Pyro is total ass to both play and fight. This is because while he uses the older flame visuals, he still uses the modern mechanics for air blast, the flamethrower in general. To start with air blast, what this means when fighting him is that Pyro will consistently launch you across the battlefield by sneezing on you, even when you're Ubered. Now this is even worse than how it is in vanilla, because we lack the appropriate unlocks that would be used to counter that spam, as well as having a universally slower weapon switch speed. This means that a defensive Pyro has an insanely easy time denying Ubers, since he just has to spam mouse too. And he really doesn't even need to be healed at all during the exchange to successfully deny the Uber. But onto the flamethrowing aspect of the flamethrower, you will find that his flames are incredibly shit-feeling. This is because of a few things. 1. The flame visuals do not match the hitboxes at all. The hitboxes are completely desynced between the hitboxes and visuals, so Pyro's flames feel incredibly inconsistent. Secondly, Pyro has his god-awful damage ramp-up that was introduced in Blue Moon. For the uninitiated, What this means for Pyro is that his flame damage per tick starts low, but ramps up to be higher damage the longer he is flaming a target. Now, this might sound okay, but this mechanic is horribly implemented. How does the game know that you're constantly making contact with flames when half of your flames always miss anyhow? To not give a lengthy dissertation in a video not dedicated to this, the game fumbles and completely fails to do this consistently, causing Pyro's damage to vary crazily, but typically making the Pyro have lower damage than he should. Having your ramp up damage reset back to low base damage while flaming someone for several seconds feels ass, and it keeps Pyro weak. As well, Pyro's damage against buildings leaves a lot to be desired. Consistently, I see Pyros be Ubered into a sentry nest, only to fail to kill the gun after flaming it for the entire duration of the Uber. But why? From personal experience, it appears that the flamethrower only does 6 damage per tick against buildings. 6 fucking damage. That is so awful that even a pistol could likely take out a building faster than flaming it can, given the pistol is at close range when firing. So overall, Pyro feels incredibly shit to play and fight, and is undoubtedly the weakest class in the mod. Apparently, this is due to time constraints, and they plan to fix it. But that leads into a wider topic. What is going on behind the scenes of this mod? What are the devs doing? Just to start with this little Pyro debacle here. The devs apparently ran out of time to make Pyro not shit before release. Okay, makes sense, busy schedule. Wait, no it doesn't. No it fucking doesn't. You're telling me the devs, they put in work to make sure certain cosmetics like the Demo Man's Throw or the Texas 10 Gallon, and even some maps like the 2 Fort Bridge or the cobwebs on 2 Fort. They went out of their way to design those, redesign them in some cases, retexture them, remodel them, etc., right, to make those look good, but they couldn't be damned to make sure Pyro was in a good state at launch. They did all this, right? They did all of this, including that sort of stuff, but also went out of the way to rebalance certain weapons and classes to be states that they were never in 2007 through 2010. But Pyro being playable, that's where the buck stops with this mod? The priorities seem completely out of whack. It makes no sense, so I guess the questions then we gotta be asking is, right, what is the goal of this mod, for starters, and secondly, what is the criteria and or the metrics used to determine what fits and what doesn't? Because if you ask the website, all they say is the following. So what, is the end goal of the mod just to replicate old TF2? They just want to emulate that? No, it doesn't seem to be. They keep making plenty of changes that don't fit this mold. But that doesn't really cover all of it here, right? The actual issue at hand is that the devs put forward a mission statement, but their actual vision does not align with what they claim. It is inconsistent. But let's just give you a frame of reference here, because saying it's inconsistent means nothing in a vacuum. The devs put forward on the website, Goldrush wants to maintain the original artistic vision, premise, and art style of the game. The keyword original, as well as initial, they use that word there too. So with that in mind, buckle up. This is the part where I tear the mod a new asshole and go schizo tier. Alright, let's get into it. To start us off, we got maps. They've included most maps up until 2010, except for a few here. Off the top of my head, no Gorge of either variety, no Double Cross, High Tower, Thunder Mountain, Upward, Cold Front, and I believe that's it. So let me start with the one that's fucking really bizarre to me, which is Double Cross. We all know Double Cross, love it or hate CTF, Double Cross is an iconic map, you know, that nice red and blue nighttime map. Okay, not included. Oh, is it because it was added too late? No, it was added in 2009. I mean, that's in the time period. So what's wrong with it? What exactly is wrong with Double Cross, apparently, that makes it not fit the original vision of the mod? Believe it or not, there are 2 problems that the devs cite. Richter specifically cites them. The grass and the truck. That's it. That's the only ones he actually cites by name from my experience. Obviously the screenshots are here for you to look at them. It's just really interesting to me. They go out of their way to change the 2 Fort Bridge. They go out of their way to change the cobwebs on 2 Fort, retexture, remodel the Demo Man's Throw, and these other cosmetics, but God forbid they have to retexture the grass on Double Cross to be a different color because they find it to be not ideal. God forbid, God forbid they do that. I mean, and as you can see in this screenshot too, Richter himself just completely forgot that retexturing the grass actually was within the scope of the mod. He just completely forgot. One of the other devs had to correct him on that. Like, what? Sorry, you don't even know you don't even know what your own devs can do and not do. But it gets worse than that. The original screenshot he sent, you might not have picked up on it from the picture. He fucking loaded the map in Gmod. He loaded the map in Gmod when he posted it as like an aesthetic, when he's trying to talk about the map's aesthetics to the people asking, why no double cross? He posts a Gmod screenshot, and all these people are like, whoa, this looks like Half-Life 2 for some reason. And what he does with that, I call him, you know, I point out and someone else points out, they say, dude, map doesn't look like that in game. He's like, oh, oopsies, I loaded it up in Gmod. Now, to his credit, it could be an honest mistake, and I'm going to pretend it's an honest mistake. But it just shows a complete, this just shows a complete carelessness and lack of foresight with decision making. Like, he actually posted a fucking image of Gmod and wrote it off as TF2. Like, if I can't even trust you to do that, how could I trust you to do anything? But that's a little hyperbolic. You know, we all make our mistakes, like I said. So let's move on to another classic, right? Let's move on to another classic. What's wrong with Gorge? What's wrong with Gorge? Well, for starters, Richter didn't actually remember initially why they excluded it. Would kind of be helpful to have a design doc listing why these things were excluded instead of the devs having to pull it out of their asshole every single time someone asks them. But anyway, he came up with reasons here. Here's the first reasons, and I quote, "The biggest is that it's just very gray and industrial with no warm colors really at all." Gray and industrial with lacking warm colors. Oh, you mean like Turbine or the inside of Hydro inside the buildings? Those are two maps that are included. Hydro literally being a launch map. You mean like those? Oh, huh. Interesting. And obviously I got other screenshots here where he explains it a bit more. But the way he explains it, you could compare these to other buildings like I'm putting on screen now. It just... What? Like, what? It doesn't make any sense. None of this makes any fucking sense in the context of what's already in their mod. You're telling me that Turbine fits the game, but Gorge doesn't because it fucking doesn't? It's just lunacy. It's literally just lunacy. It's fucking psychobabble to me. But we can keep going with this, right? We can keep going with this. Where's Junction? What's wrong with Junction? I know people have issues with it gameplay-wise, but aesthetically, do people take issue with Junction? What's wrong with Junction? It has a Dust Bowl-like aesthetic. If you actually bother looking above around the map, the rocks are Dust Bowl-like. It's in a facility that pretty much reminds me of the last stages on Hydro. What's wrong with it? What's wrong with Junction? They never answered that question. I had asked them repeatedly. They never answered. I couldn't tell you what's wrong with it. The devs couldn't tell you either. You could probably go to their Discord, look up Junction, and not get any answers. I mean, to be fair, nobody's fucking asking about Junction, but where is it? Why the omission? Where the fuck is Junction at? This goes for a bunch of other maps. Where's Thunder Mountain? But not even just where, the why do we include certain maps. Something like Lumberyard is a new aesthetic for TF2. Something like Viaduct is a new aesthetic for TF2 entirely. So why do those get to stay? Those aren't 2007. Those aren't original vision, so to speak. Now, I would argue that the Alpine setting and the Snowy setting are an evolution or an extension of the original idea for TF2. It's not just Badlands. There is always the possibility for more biomes and such, right? I'm not going to go more in depth than that because it's a whole separate video, but, I don't think anyone's staring at Lumberyard and thinking, man, this just doesn't fit TF2. But then again, who's looking at Double Cross other than these guys and saying, I think that this Double Cross map doesn't fit the original vision. And then the reasoning they give is like, the grass is the wrong color. Like, this is not sufficient. Because when you include maps like Lumberyard or Viaduct, and you exclude stuff like Double Cross for the most unironically minute and unnoticeable details, this just comes off as cherry picking, or even just nitpicking in general. Like, really, again, I hate to harp on this Double Cross one, but it really just doesn't make sense to me. They have the ability to fix the grass texture. They have the means to do that. Simply replace it with Sawmill's grass. Just do that, if you need it to be dark to match the nighttime aesthetic. But instead of doing that, and, fixing the truck asset, which would probably be done in 10 minutes, just fucking cut it. Just cut it. They go through the effort to make sure that 2-4's bridge looks nicer, but God forbid they fix Double Cross. I don't know, fuck Double Cross fans, I guess. But it goes a little beyond that, too. It goes a little farther beyond that, right? Okay, they exclude certain maps. I mean, we can always just add them ourselves, right? Sure. But this also begs the question of, why do we need to add them in the first place? Just because you arbitrarily decided they don't fit even though the devs made them, and the devs even drew up concept art for shit like Lumberyard and Gorge is an extension of the Alpine aesthetic. I mean, I'm sure I can find issues with Gorge or Double Cross or these other maps if I really tried to, but does it justify them not being in the game? I don't know. I don't really think so. I really don't think so, because if the best thing they can say as, oh, I mean, you can just add it yourself, it's not an issue. All you've done is inconvenience your audience for no reason. No good reason, I should say. Like, because you're lazy and just expect the fans to just basically fill in the gaps for you, you can get away with whatever decisions you want as a mod creator, basically. Not any one person when I say you, just the dev team. They don't actually care if they inconvenience people. Oh, you can just download it from the workshop, as if the expectation when entering this godforsaken mod isn't that you can just load into a game of fucking Double Cross or Gorge, because these maps have been there since 2009, made by Valve, and there's not a good enough reason to omit them. They should be fixed. If there's issues, they should have been fixed. But instead, they wasted time doing shit like, I have to reiterate, retexturing and adding more modeling details to the Demoman's Fro. A hat that no one's gonna fucking wear. Nobody wears that because it's ugly. Really? Speaking of hats, that's the next talking point here, okay? The hat selection in this mod makes no sense. So I'm gonna give you the first example here. Ye Old Baker Boy exists in this mod. Now, this causes an issue, because according to the devs, there are certain things that are non-negotiable when it comes to basic class design. Soldier's helmet, scout's headset, etc. Okay, at a base level, I can get behind this. It makes sense that you would want the classes to stay unique and not have overlap in their cosmetics. Okay, great. So scout's headset is non-negotiable. Right, got it. So that's why they excluded the tassel cap and some of these other hats, because they take off the headset. Okay. Wait, then why's the old Baker Boy here? That hat takes off the headset, doesn't it? I mean, shit, that hat isn't even a default color in Scout's color palette. It's fucking brown. Wait, but why is this here then? Oh, of course, because it was featured on a menu art that was added in the Classless update back in 2009. Oh, of course. Wait, you mean the same update that added auto reload, crits on cap, and the ability to interrupt the SMG's reload by firing? You mean 3 things that this dev team doesn't like, seemingly, because they removed 2 of them and disabled the 3rd one by default, I'm pretty sure? That update? Oh, right. Yeah, see, that's not a good enough reason, is it? It's not a good enough reason, because there's this rule that they establish here that scout hats need to have the headset still, which is a fair rule, I think. And then they break their own rule, because, it's in a menu art. What the fuck kind of logic is that? That is a lack of logic. That is an appeal to status quo. Oh yeah, it was in a menu art, therefore it's okay. Okay, that's great. That's just fucking awesome. Great. Okay, you know what else was in a menu art? A huntsman that was the size of Sniper's entire torso was in that same menu art. Should we make the Sniper's huntsman look like that in game? No, obviously not. That would be fucking completely ridiculous. That would be absolutely absurd. Like, why are we citing menu art here? That makes absolutely no sense. But it goes even further than that. Again, original aesthetics and initial premise, blah blah blah, right? There are no hats in 2007 TF2. That is 100% not in the scope of this mod, and that isn't just me talking out my asshole here. I put on screen here, there's a fucking interview with Robin Walker where he basically says, we were not planning hats, we didn't want hats originally, but when we added hats we had to warp the game around it. That's me paraphrasing a bit, but I've linked the interview here in the description too for you to watch if you really want to. But Robin Walker says in an interview, hats were not planned. You cannot get more objective with your metrics than that. The dev himself, lead dev on the project for Team Fortress 2, said that there wasn't hats originally. They didn't plan them, the game didn't accommodate them. So they have 2007 aesthetics, original premise, that's what they claim, yet they have hats at all. Huh. Pretty fucking weird, isn't it? And again, there's another example. You bring this up to the devs when it's like, Robin Walker literally said that they weren't including hats originally. They didn't want to include them originally. That wasn't part of the plan. And they had to, like I said, shift the game around them. I bring that up to the devs. Silence. It's like, I'm picking my butthole, looking for gold here. It's just nonsensical. It's just fucking ridiculous. This feedback. They aren't responding to it because it's literally untrue. What they're presenting is just factually untrue. They present the mod. Again, must reiterate, present the mod as an original premise, aesthetics, etc., right? But it's not. There's hats. But it's not. There's lumberyard. But it's not. There's blah, X, Y, and Z. The issue is that if you're going to appeal to this, you have to actually appeal to this, and not just pick, this feels original, this doesn't feel original, this feels original. There are objective metrics you can use for this. People value consistency, but These sorts of decisions do not show that. These sorts of decisions show cherry picking. That's the biggest thing about this mod. It's just cherry picking. This feels right. This doesn't feel right. This feel good. This feel bad. That's all it is. That's all it is at the end of the day, and that's what's not good about. That's the worst part about this mod. That's what's killing this mod. That's why this mod's player base went from 1,000 players all the way down to less than 100 daily within 2 weeks. Like, that's really bad. That's really fucking bad. But I'm blowing my load too early here. Let's get back to that. I'm blowing my load too early here. Let's go to the weapons, and the weapons next. So, I'm sure you've all heard, no Gunslinger, no Islander. Okay, that's really weird because most of the Islander and Demonize a subclass was around in 2009. He was added in the war update, basically. And the Gunslinger, they're citing stuff from 2010, like the Eureka Effect, Jesus, the Wrangler and the Frontier Justice. But no Gunslinger? What's up with that? What's up with that? Well, if you ask the devs, this is something I do agree with them on for the Islander. The reasons they give is purely aesthetic, though, which is not correct, but the aesthetic reasons I also do partially agree on. The Islander is a haunted sword. Now, two things are wrong with this. A, yeah, I'm sorry, this haunted sword shit doesn't fit the original vision. And if they want to try and appeal to the older style of the game, he should not be using a haunted sword. But even Demoman using a sword doesn't make sense, because the reason he has a bottle is because he's a drunk. It fits in with his personality to use that. Nothing in Demoman's personality would have him holding a sword except for him being Scottish. So in this instance, I agree with the devs. Although they should have gone the extra mile and also said Demo Knight as a class isn't Demoman. It's just its own thing, which completely ruins class identity, but hey, this is me filling in for them now. This is me doing their homework for them. As for the Gunslinger, well, what's wrong with the Gunslinger? Oh, it makes NG two things. In one, it makes NG a cyborg. That's number one. And two, NG had to chop off his own arm to use it, so he's insane. Okay, rule number one here. Let's go backwards. First thing, NG had to chop off his own arm to use it? No, that was his grandfather in the comics. Comics, mind you, which they've basically said the mod is not treating as canon. So we can ignore that bit. It's completely plausible that Engineer had some sort of accident and replaced with a robot limb. Two, it's a cyborg. Okay, and? Literally, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? I can tell you why I don't think it works, but they can't tell you that. They just say it's a cyborg. Dude, this is a world with teleporters and sentry guns and magic and like healing dispensers and healing guns. But NG having a cyborg arm, that's too far. What the fuck do you mean that's too far? Do you want to know the actual reason not to include him with the Gunslinger? It's mini sentries. They don't fit. They redefined NG's class role to a point where he's not the class that they want. That's all they need to say. That's all they needed to say. But instead they give this a weird aesthetic reason. Like, cyborg. Okay, cyborg, yes, what about it? What about it? Oh, nothing, right. But it gets better, still. The Girardi's in the mod. The Girardi's in the mod? Wait a minute. You mean to tell me the Girardi's in the mod? The weapon that single-handedly launches TF2 from being a mix of cartoonish humor and mature themes to being a fucking joke game? Like, single-handedly launches it into the stratosphere, and it's probably the reason why we have Pyro fart weapons and fart taunts in the modern game? Because let me tell you what Girardi is. It's taking a basic concept and basically bastardizing it. The concept that Sniper would piss in jars is sound. You see it in Meet the Sniper as he's sitting in that thing for a long time in that sniper perch. Guess what? He's an assassin, a marksman, a big game hunter. He would be peeing in jars. But would he throw them at people? No. That's not Sniper. No, that's not Sniper at all. That turns Sniper from a actual professional, polite, well-mannered assassin to a fucking joke, because he's throwing piss on people. It's just pure gross-out humor. What if Sniper threw those piss jars at people? Okay, you've turned the game into a joke now. And this is another one I've pointed out. It's like, why is the Girardi okay, but the Huntsman... It's not the Huntsman, the Islander and the Gunslinger are not. Even though the Girardi also completely warps the world's tone and changes Sniper fundamentally as a class. Because it's iconic. I'm sorry, repeat that? Because it's iconic. That's their reasoning. Because it's iconic. The Girardi fits because it's iconic. They didn't actually bother saying that it fits because of any thought-out reasoning, other than, he could throw the piss at people. The actual reason they gave is because it's iconic. Fucking fantastic. You know what else is iconic? We have Dust Bowl. Give me the Flog and the Scorch Shot. That's pretty iconic for Dust Bowl, wouldn't you say? I mean, you go on Dust Bowl in casual mode, very likely that you're going to get ass raped by a Flog Pyro on red team that just spawn camps you for 7 minutes. I mean, that's iconic. You know what else is iconic with TF2? it being a hack game, unusuals, cheater bots, these are all iconic things. So if we're going to cite iconography as a thing, as a metric, well, I mean, shit, where are my cheater bots? Where are my Omegatronics? Oh, wait, that doesn't actually work like that. It doesn't work like that at all, even though the devs want to pretend like it does. How quaint. How bizarre. How bizarre. And just to wrap up this little aesthetic conversation here with a nice little bow. So apparently NG being a cyborg's too far, but a little choo-choo on Frontier, because Frontier's added, even though I'm pretty sure that map was added in 2011. That map got added into Gold Rush, even though it literally features a giant payload cart that has a fucking built-in computer that's like, ready to kill. And it has a fucking train on the car on the front of that to mouth, like bites people. So that's completely okay, but the gunslinger's not. Okay, it's just fucking whatever, man. Just whatever. So let me wrap back to, now let's finish with weapons here, right? Not the exclusions, but the inclusions. So some of you might have noticed, certain classes have weapons maybe they shouldn't have. Demo Man has the Ullapool Caber and the Lock and Load, which are weapons that are in the Australian Christmas update from 2010. That is the farthest out from an update that they've reached in the mod. Now, why did they give him that? Oh, they gave him that because without Demo Knight as a subclass, they needed to give Demo Man something. You know, they'd have something to compensate. Otherwise, he'd have fucking nothing. He'd have the Scottish Resistance, and that's really it, frankly. So what about Engineer? You got rid of the Gunslinger. You gutted the Wrangler, because the Wrangler doesn't have a shield at all, and he has the Frontier Justice. So he just has the Frontier Justice, a fucking useless Wrangler, frankly, and that's it. He gets 2 weapons. Every other class gets at least 3, but NG gets 2. Why isn't he being compensated with something like the Jag or the Eureka Effect? Are these not aesthetic? I could understand the Eureka Effect, but the Jag? Southern Hospitality even? Why no other wrench? He gets nothing. He gets literally 2. He gets the least unlocked of every class. He gets completely shafted. Why? Where's his compensation? Are you playing favorites, devs? Are they playing favorites with Demo Man? They need to give him the Lock and Load and the Ullapool Caber and the Scottish Resistance because they got rid of Demo Man. Are you playing favorites? Where's NG's job? Where's NG's shit? Does he get shafted? Why don't you give him the Rescue Ranger? That's kind of fitting, isn't it? It's literally a modified shotgun. Fuck that, I guess. But it gets better than that, right? It gets better. Let's keep looking forward, right? We have items from the Manconomy update, like the Saharan Spy items, which is not all of them, just the Eternal Reward, But that weapon is bizarre. Is just weird, right? It doesn't look anything like any other weapon included in the mod. It doesn't even look like something Spy would use. It's an Egyptian knife based on Aladdin. Not Egyptian. It's like a Middle Eastern knife based on a scene from Aladdin. Which now, you correct me if I'm wrong here. I don't remember TF2 taking place in the Middle East. I don't remember the Middle East being part of TF2. Maybe modern TF2 has that, but I don't remember that being part of the original TF2 aesthetic. So I don't know why we're including Middle Eastern items for the Spy. Right? But let's keep going with that. You may have noticed that Pyro has the Homewrecker. Isn't that kind of weird? Isn't it kind of weird that Pyro has the Homewrecker, a weapon that people rightfully claim kind of intrudes on NG's gameplay a bit by letting Pyro do NG's chores? So why did they give him that? Isn't it also weird that Spy is one of the weakest classes in the mod, yet he gets to be fucked by Pyro even harder? So why did they give him that? I shit you not, and you'll see it right on screen, they gave him the Homewrecker to counter the Dead Ringer. Because they gave Spy the Dead Ringer, they needed to add the Homewrecker to counter it. Again, 2 issues wrong with this. Issue number 1, the Dead Ringer in the mod is shit. It's one-time use, you can't refill it with ammo, and it just resists damage. And doesn't even block backstabs anymore, for some reason. And 2, this is not how you balance. This is how you power creep the shit out of your game. This is the biggest issue with Team Fortress 2. The reason that we have the modern game we do with these boring-ass weapons is because instead of fixing what they had, they just kept adding more to the pile. Oh, we have an issue here. What's the issue? Spy's underpowered. Okay, let's fix that by giving him the Dead Ringer. Oh no, we've made Spy too strong. Oh, should we fix the Dead Ringer? Nonsense, just give Pyro the Homewrecker. Like, what? And then the Homewrecker creates its own problems, like I said. Well, frankly, Homewrecker is just an evil weapon. Spy goes out of his way, kills the NG, saps the gun. Oh, but sorry, Pyro equipped a fucking melee weapon, so he just deletes the Spy's work. There's a reason people hate that weapon, yet it's included. Because the devs are power creeping their own game. They are power creeping their own version of the game. But that's really weird because this wouldn't exist if you just stuck to 2007 and just use stock. Just use stock. If you want to have unlocks, perhaps that's fine, even though that's still not 2007 because unlocks weren't planned either. But if you're going to have them, you got to have them exist in equilibrium. You can't just add them to counter each other because you've just turned the game into rock, paper, scissors. You've just created a meta. You've created a power creep scenario where the only way you can solve it is now to either start removing weapons that don't fit or reworking them to not work is how they do it all, which they've already started doing. They've already started doing that. Some of these weapons don't function like how they used to. The lock and load never existed in the way it does in the mod. That never was like that, for instance. Or neither did the Dead Ringer. So the mod team has created problems, and instead of fixing the problems by doing what they should have done from the start, they just double down and create a problem to solve the problem, to create the problem that solves the problem, blah, blah, infinite loop. It just keeps going and going and going and going and going. And just to bookend this gameplay section here, right? The auto reload I discussed at the beginning of this video that I placed in the good section, yeah, it wasn't the full story actually. I was saving this as a surprise. So, the devs went out of their way to punish the use of auto reload scripts by implementing something to punish it. So how did they do it? What did they do? Well, what they did is they implemented a system or mechanic, I guess, where after you fire your weapon, you cannot reload your weapon for a little over a second, I think. I don't know the exact number. Now, it doesn't work like this in normal TF2. You can fire your weapon and immediately start reloading. Even without auto reload, you press R right after firing and it'll try to reload immediately as soon as possible, basically. As soon as the animation finishes, it'll try and reload. In Goldrush, it doesn't work like that. You fire your weapon and press reload after firing, and it's just going to ignore your input completely. It's just going to ignore it, even if you're pressing reload manually. Ignored. Because it's checking to see... Well, it's not checking. I don't think it's checking. I think what's happening is that they changed how plus attack works, or plus reload, where the window after plus attack, your attack button's pressed, there's a window of time after that where it will basically just deny your next input if it's reload. I don't know how or why they did it like that, but all it does is it just punishes everyone playing the game. It just punishes everyone. It makes classes like Demo Man and Soldier pretty fucking insufferable, because if you have 2 rockets loaded or something mid-combat, you're trying to reload and then you fire and you're trying to reload. It feels really shit having to mash the R button on your keyboard over and over again because it feels like it's eating your inputs. Because it's not just feeling like it's eating your inputs. It is eating your inputs, and that's just ridiculous. Like, why? And nobody's talking about this. I'm the only one I've seen talk about this. It's fucking crazy work. I don't know how people didn't realize this. It doesn't work like that way in normal TF2, even without auto reload. It doesn't work like that in Left 4 Dead or Counter-Strike or any of these games. Why did they do it? I just don't understand. But here's the real kick to the nuts for this mod. Here's the real kick to the nuts, because everything I've said so far could be excused. Everything I've said so far could be excused if the mod team actually fucking accepted criticism. But they don't. But they don't. What they do when people give them feedback, they ignore them, they troll them, they pester them, they rage bait them. Or in the case of me, they ban them. That's right, I'm banned from their Discord because I was giving feedback. I wasn't giving feedback because I hate the mod. I actually wanted the mod to succeed, and it's disappointing this is how it's turned out. I got banned during the making of this video, actually, and it's just really funny to me that every criticism I was going to say is now even more justified because I'm gone. Then I'm not the only person this has happened to. People before me were complaining that people got banned. I talked to some guys who've been in the Discord a lot longer than me, I won't name names, and they've even said, like, what the hell, they're banning people now? The mod team has gone so far. There was a discussion that was being had, I remember this clearly, and I have the screenshots for you. We were having a conversation about why a certain cosmetic should or shouldn't be in the mod. The people that were arguing with the dev team were disagreeing about Pyro. The dev team was claiming that Pyro was always, or at least Richter was claiming, and I think one of the other mods, Pyro was 100% serious all the time, even from day one. Which is just a fucking barefaced lie at worst, or a complete misrepresentation of reality through complete, like, I don't even know what to say on that point. They're just being out of touch with reality. Yeah, day one Pyro. You know what day one Pyro had? A purse in his locker. He did the Hadouken taunt. He played his axe like a guitar. He moves around like a bumbling idiot. He was never 100% serious. But apparently Pyro was always just a freak. He was a Frankenstein. He was scary. I'm sorry, you'll never be... Pyro, there is an aspect of that to Pyro. He is a bit unsettling, but he was never 100% that. This game was never 100% serious. And again, if we're gonna go down that road, how come the Girardi's included, even though that's incredibly unserious, like completely to the point of being absurd unserious? Anyway, side topic. How did the devs respond to this? Oh, they just locked the feedback channel. They just locked the feedback channel. Oh, yeah, you want to give criticism? Well, first we're going to tell you that your criticism isn't actually valid criticism. We're going to define what's valid criticism, actually. You're not giving good feedback. You're just arguing for no reason. We're going to define that. We're just going to brush our critics away as that, even though all these people that are playing are, like, enjoying the mod. And then we're going to lock down the channel. And then we're going to ban some people. Oh. In fact, speaking of my ban, do you want to see the conversation that got me banned? This one right here. This one right here. I'll just give you guys a second to read through this one. As you can see, I don't need to explain it. But that's the other guy in this chat got banned as well, who said S. He said S for some reason. I don't know why he said S, but he got banned. And then I got banned after that. We both got banned. That other guy was not a big critic of the mod or anything. He had just put S in that chat for some reason, and he got banned. They snapped him. I don't know why. I don't know why. He got unbanned, by the way. He did get unbanned, so there's some justice for him. But I have not. I haven't even bothered reaching out to the dev team because we were both banned without warning, without any setup. It just happened instantly. We weren't warned previously of breaking any rules. We're banned. He got unbanned because someone vouched, so I think someone asked for him. I don't care. I don't really care to be unbanned. When you start going 1984 on your critics who genuinely like your mod and want it to succeed, there's just no bouncing back from that. I don't care to be back there. I have no ill will against the mod, nor do I really have ill will against the devs per se, but this is just ridiculous. This is why people quit the mod. This is why the player base is dying, because it's inconsistent. Let me bookend this all now for you. This Gold Rush is inconsistent. The dev team is full of LARPers. Most of these people are not old heads, as far as I can tell. One of them seemed to have started playing TF2 in 2019, yet this dev team wants to tell you what's right for the game in the vision. But they don't even know their own vision. They couldn't vision their fucking way out of a paper goddamn bag. They don't know what they're doing. They're purely vibes checking. They are feeling their way around. They have no metrics. They have no goal. They have no plan. And this is why the mod is failing. And it is a fucking tragedy, because the original premise of the mod was to be a time capsule before it was changed. It was changed in 2025, early 2025. It shifted direction completely. Some people have said that they've updated the website. The old website used to say it was a time capsule mod or something. Now, I don't have screenshots of that. I don't care to look them up. You can look that up yourself, but that's just what people have told me. And I might believe them. I don't care if it's true or not, because I'm not judging the mod based on that hypothetical. I am judging it based on everything the devs have done, continue to do, and will do in the future, because like I said, once you get to the point where you start 1984 banning people from your fucking Discord and public chats because they criticized your mod, you can't bounce back from that. You're fucked. And I just hope that these other mods that come out after this, I hope that other mods learn from Gold Rush what not to do. I think there's a genuine niche in this community to have a time capsule mod. There is a genuine niche for that. That was the original goal of Castaway too, was to replicate 2014 until they shifted their goal, but at least their modern goal is consistent. They just want all buffs, no noifs, Gabba says. Like, at least that's consistent. Gold Rush is just nothing. It's just fucking nothing. Like I said, it's a LARPing mod, pretending to be old. Meanwhile, all the old heads you can find in the Steam reviews say, like, what the fuck? And people in their Discord that like the mod, I'll show screenshots here. I'm covering the names, obviously, but these people that really like the mod are just as confused as the rest of us. As what are the devs doing? We're told to trust the devs, but the devs don't have the actions to back this up. They can't do it. They fumble, they flap, and when you say, dude, do you need a hand? They're like, no, get away from me, silenced, suppressed. This isn't the kind of community you want to cultivate. This isn't good. But I've reached the point, I'm definitely just starting to ramble now and repeat things I've already said, so with everything I've said in mind, let me just end the video with this. I do not hate Gold Rush. I don't hate the devs. I loved the community when I was in it, mostly. I wish the mod succeeds, but as it stands right now, it's dug its own grave, and it's going to lay itself into it very soon. Again, The player numbers are dead. There's 3 active servers last time I checked a few days ago. The mod's dead. The hype train died. Everyone sees this. I'm basically just the final nail in the coffin. I don't want to be the final nail in the coffin, but if I am, I'm sorry. Sorry, Gold Rush team. You tried, you failed. Hopefully you learned your lesson. Hopefully other modders learn from this and make something better. Or maybe hopefully community server people learn from this and make something better. Because at the end of the day, the second mouse gets the cheese. This is Kraig. Thanks for watching. Peace out.